It's been a minute. I'm going to talk about these books. I have finished the Hilary Duff series. I wrote a script for it. I didn't like it. I need to rework it. Eventually. So, let us start off with ... The Teacher. So, I've seen this author a lot. Like, she's written a bunch of books, and they all seem to do very well. From this one, it feels very airport fiction. Like, you just pick it up, read it in 5 hours or whatever. And that's fine. There's a market for that. There's a reason they exist. It's not anything incredible, but it was an interesting read. Content warning for The Teacher. Grooming, murder, and sexual assault of a minor. So, one of our main characters, Amelia, is back for her junior year of high school after having one of her previous teachers fired due to perceived inappropriate behavior, but nothing actually happened. Eve, our next main character, is her math teacher and is upset that the other teacher was fired because they had a good, mentor-mentee sort of relationship, and she's upset with having to deal with Amelia, and she's also upset in her marriage. And then she just happens to also be having an affair with this guy who works at a shoe store that she frequents. His name is Jay. And then Nate is Eve's husband, and he is also Amelia's English teacher who takes advantage of her fragile state and begins to pursue a relationship with her. Yum. When Eve finds out about the relationship, she threatens both Nate and Amelia with revealing the information. Amelia lashes out, and it appears that Eve is killed, and Nate pushes Amelia to hide the body. And then Nate then tries to frame Amelia for the murder, telling the police, oh, it was all her idea, I had nothing to do with it, and just happens to not mention that he had a relationship with her. But then it seems that Eve is haunting him, and when he goes back to check that her body is still where they left it, he instead finds an empty hole. Eve, in fact, survived. She stuns Nate, ties him up, and then buries him alive in the hole. Hell yeah. Fast forward a few months, and Eve isn't pressing charges on Amelia. Another victim of Nate's comes forward, and so the police just assume that he skipped town. We even learned that Eve was Nate's first victim. He groomed her right after he got out of college. He was his first year teaching. Amelia ends the story reconnecting with a friend of hers, Hudson, who they just had grown apart, and she learns that his new nickname when he came to high school is Jay, and he works at a shoe store. I wonder if anyone else goes to that shoe store. Like I said, it's a perfectly fine, airport thriller. I finished it in just a couple days, just because, life. It was very rewarding to have Nate get his comeuppance, but then to end the story learning Eve, glass houses, mote in the eye, girl. The author has written a bunch of books recently. Her most popular one is The Housemaid. It's got a bunch of sequels and stuff. I've only read this one book by her. She seems popular enough, so I don't know, maybe they're all good. I did like that in all of the scenes with Eve and Jay, we're given just enough information as the readers to assume that he is a consenting adult. The stern voice we hear over the phone isn't a nagging wife, but is in fact his mother. The crying baby isn't his own, but it's actually his sister. The reason he doesn't like staying late isn't because his partner is getting suspicious, but because he just doesn't have his full driver's license yet. The way information is withheld from us, we get enough to draw our own conclusions, but it doesn't feel like the author is lying to us, Unlike other books I'm going to be talking about, The Silent Patient. Content warning for The Silent Patient: gun death, infidelity, involuntary drugging, and mental incarceration. Alicia Berenson has shot and killed her husband and has since gone completely silent and has been locked away in a psychiatric hospital. Our main character, Theo, is a psychotherapist desperately trying to talk to her to learn her story and to figure out what's going on with her. While trying to treat her, Alicia gives Theo the journal that she kept in the months preceding her husband's death. And it turns out that not only did she, yes, kill her husband, but it was actually Theo who pushed her to do it. Before she's able to turn him in, Theo injects her with morphine and is desperately trying to find the journal before the police can, but they do find it, and the book ends with Theo being led away in handcuffs. Opinions. This book pissed me off. Like, I don't mind misdirection. I don't mind being given limited clues so we draw our own conclusions and then find out, oh, we were led down the wrong path. That's fine. It's fine if our point of view character doesn't investigate every single piece of detail laid out before them. But when it just lies to you, when the narrative just lies to you, this book is almost entirely told from Theo's point of view. First person. We are in his head as we are going throughout the story. And this is opposed to Alicia's journal entries, which are sprinkled throughout, which are told in italicized and in a different font, so we're able to more easily differentiate. An interesting thing that the book does is it is written as if Theo trying to investigate and interview Alicia, if that is happening, in tandem with him discovering that his wife is having an affair. In reality, it is him discovering the affair and trying to confront Alicia and her husband that pushes her to killing him. But like, when it just lies to you. Okay, for the big example in this book. So this is Theo discovering that Alicia has been drugged with morphine. Who did it? Was it self-inflicted? A pinprick along the vein, a tiny hole left by a hypodermic needle revealing the truth. Alicia didn't swallow a bottle of pills in a suicidal gesture. She was injected with a massive dose of morphine. This wasn't an overdose. It was attempted murder. You find out like 10 pages later that he was the one who injected the morphine in her, which like, okay, fine. That idea as a plot point is fine. That's fine. The problem I have with it is this line break. This line break right here. This line break indicates weight that needs to be held to this information that we are being given. This information is played as a horrible revelation on Theo's part. But no, he did it. He knows she was injected. He knows it was attempted murder. So by breaking this thought into a separate paragraph, the author is intentionally misleading us as the audience. Boo! Tomato, tomato, tomato! That in and of itself, like the whole timeline fuckery, that's cool, that's fine, I dig with it. I'm hip, I'm with it, I know the slang, 6-7, ugh. Anyway. Thoughts and prayers. I wonder what this is about. Content warning, school shooting. So in the aftermath of a school shooting, 3 survivors, Eleanor, Brendan, and Claire, are trying to navigate their new normal a year later. The book is split into 3 different sections, each following the 3 different characters. None of them interact with one another, and each section has its own complete, albeit abrupt ending to an arc, so it's fine. It's just a weird storytelling method. The only thing that really ties them together is the fact that during the day of the school shooting, they hid together in a stairwell. They didn't really know each other beforehand. They don't keep in touch afterwards, but that is the glue that binds them. Like I said, it's a year later, and luckily they are each able to more or less successfully move on. Claire has moved to a different state. She has made new friends. She is rediscovering old hobbies, and she is able to laugh and smile again. Eleanor used to be the media darling, trying to spread awareness, use a bunch of hashtags, and make herself the face of the movement, but everyone has moved on to the next news story, and they expect her to do the same. Brendan is returning to school after taking a year off, and he is having problems adjusting back to normal school life and is losing himself inside of a tabletop RPG game. With the endings, there is the feeling of hope, and like they'll be better off. They're all very abrupt. They just end very suddenly, and I'm just like, oh, okay, I guess we're on to the next character. So I know that my experiences have shaped my specific worldview, Pulitzer-winning quote there, but so in my high school, I went to a really small high school. So you didn't know everybody, but like you knew everybody. You like names, faces, you knew everybody, you know? So for this story, for there to be no peripheral characters that overlap, like no teachers, like the principal is mentioned. Obviously it's the principal, but like no teachers, no like friend of a friend sort of situation. It felt surreal almost for me. Like, did they even go to the same school? Speaking of surreal, why the fuck does this keep happening? And then, so it was just recently Halloween. Spoiler alert, it was recently Halloween. So I decided to read a couple spooky stories, and this was my first one. And I mean, what else is there to say with this as your title? Haunted Vagina is the story of Steve, who visits an alternate world inside his girlfriend Stacy's, you guessed it, vagina. Inside this bizarre world, he meets and is taken captive by this bizarre alien-like creature named Fig. But I think the reason I'm in love with her being Fig, the reason I think she's so cute is because of what she's done to me. The people of this world are all born with unique DNA. They are born a species of one. When a female is within the vicinity of a male, she releases supercharged pheromones that alter the man's DNA to match her own. He will mutate into the male counterpart of her species. Then, they become a species of two. And that's on page 88 of 92. Like, my man Carlton was just typing this all out, stream of consciousness, and was like, oh crap, I don't have a story. But that's not such like a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to write stream of consciousness with a story that's that short. Little commitment, you know? It probably could have been like workshopped into a full-length novel. It shouldn't be, in my professional opinion. But you know, there's pieces, there's ghosts of a story in this Haunted Vagina. But this author seems to only do these hella short novels. Think like Chuck Tingle, but straight. Other titles of our dear Carlton include, but are not limited to, Razor Wire Pubic Hair, War Slut, The Menstruating Mall, Sausagey Santa, The Cannibals of Candyland, and The Kobold Wizard Dildo of Enlightenment, +2. If you do decide to read this book, don't. Just a content warning for you. Body horror, in which the Steve is describing how he's being transformed from human into Fig creature. Plus, there's the whole sequence describing when he's climbing into his girlfriend Stacy. And then, because this book came out in 2011, there's a random R slur thrown in there. Slenderman. You know, Slenderman. So this story is kind of different in that the lore of Slenderman exists, like, of his creation. Like, it started off with, like, it's a fully online creation. It isn't, like, traditional folklore. So this book is told through a bunch of different, like, methods, like journals and, like, transcripts of audio recordings and police interviews and stuff, and part of the storytelling is through, like, Reddit threads and stuff, which is cool, which is fine. I love that. I love different storytelling methods, sort of like a scrapbook of a book. Our main character is named Matt. He's having these weird dreams, and he's telling a friend of his about these dreams, and then she disappears, and so he assumes that they are somehow connected because his dreams have to do with, like, weird woods entities, and she disappeared into the woods. So, whoa. My man Matt out there with a freaking Pepe Sylvia board trying to connect it. He eventually does go into the woods to fight Slenderman in order to get her back, and it works. She does return home, but then he is summoned into the woods as a sort of, like, replacement for her, and the story ends with, like, oh, he's been gone for a year or whatever. It's so sad, whatever happened to him. And like I said, I liked the different storytelling methods, especially because a lot of it takes place over, like, text messages or email or like Reddit threads. So you have, like, the date and the time to show pauses between, like, a conversation. And I just like that. But I'm not necessarily the target demo for this book. Like, I was never into the whole creepypasta scene. I appreciate it as a sort of communal art form, but it's not for me. I didn't fall into the rabbit hole of, there's like a house that all of these characters live in, the Slenderman mansion, the Slender Mansion. Is it called the Slender Mansion? If it isn't, that's a shame. Anyway, I was never into that whole scene, which isn't a good or a bad thing. It just wasn't my cup of tea. I was too busy, I don't know, being depressed, I guess. I just found the idea of a novel trying to capitalize on internet culture just inherently interesting. And the fun thing with the book, it doesn't have any author credited anywhere on the book. Like if you do any sort of like cursory Googling, it's right there. But like you pick up this book, oh, who wrote it? Where did it come from? Ah, spooky. Anyway. No, your world. Carry on. I can't start yet because there's going to be like a little ding-a-ding-a-ding.